Hello, uh, good evening, or good morning, whenever you're listening to this. Today's video is going to be on a delicate matter, depression, and I will mostly be speaking about two things: how I have related to it and how I put it behind me. Now, I would like to start by saying that I am a regular person. I'm not an expert on anything. Anything that I say is just my opinion, and it's not necessarily right, or that what is right for me or what helped me may not exactly be helpful for someone else. But the main reason that I decided to actually make this audio is that I have been, I saw several people touching the subject, several friends of mine these days, and it got me thinking that maybe, even though I don't consider myself to be the best person to talk about it, maybe I should, because every voice is important. Every opinion can make a difference to somebody when they don't expect it. So I was never diagnosed with it or anything. It's not like that. But I did go through a phase where I was depressed for a long period of time. And it's recent and far away at the same time, because this phase that I'm referring to was a large part of last year, 2014. Now, I will just mention a few things that I experienced as emotions. Like, someone might ask, what do you mean you were depressed? How did you feel? Were you just sad? Were you crying? What was it? Because, I'm not an expert. I can only say what I went through, and I leave it to anyone out there to confirm that, yeah, this is how being depressed feels like. I lost my will to exist, but that I wouldn't like anyone to confuse that with being suicidal. I have never been suicidal. I could never hurt myself. But I have reached a point where I said, I see no reason for me to be around here. But at the same time, there was nothing I wanted to do about it. I was lost in all ways. That's one thing. I lost all my will to do anything fun. I became reclusive to a point. I stopped leaving the house. I stopped going out. Well, when I mean out, I mean to town, for example. Generally, I'm one of the most outdoorsy people you will ever meet, but to this day, sadly, I have become very indoorsy. That's one part that I haven't gotten through yet, going out much. But there are obstacles for that. But anyway, I was crying a lot. I'm a big crybaby, always have been. For this period of time, which lasted several months, I was beating myself up for everything that is going wrong in my life, and that includes things that I am responsible for, but it also includes things that I'm not responsible for. External factors that go wrong, I just tended to blame myself for those too, and cause myself even more pain emotionally. And that's a form of self-abuse, but on an emotional level only. I had no dreams anymore. I stopped dreaming. I stopped making plans. I stopped planning my life. Back then, I just existed. I would wake up every day and go to bed, and I didn't know why anymore. And I would forget to function during the day. I would forget to eat, which is quite ironic considering I am a big girl. I'm quite heavy, and I was even heavier back then. And so that gives you an idea. I wouldn't eat. I wouldn't have a lot of water. I had no motivation to do anything. All I did was just exist. And that went on for a while. But then we get to the interesting part of how I started getting out of this state. Now, there are many types of people, but I am the type of person who cannot find the strength to motivate themselves. I wish I was. I know people who are like that. They don't need anyone. They just go for it. I am not one of those people. I am a people person. I need people in my life to keep me standing. Otherwise, I'm not standing. I actually start sinking. So, the first thing that helped me immensely to communicate my feelings, to vent, and to be able to get out of that rut was friends. Now, when I say friends, I mean people who genuinely and deeply care about me. I'm not talking about acquaintances that I just wanted to talk to someone and opened up. No. That doesn't work. It can sometimes, but not really. You know, I love talking to people. I love meeting people. I love making friends. But when it comes to being in a very difficult personal situation, generally, on all levels, you need, when you vent and open up, you need it to be with a person that you trust, or people that you just, doesn't have to be one person. So the first step was communicating my feelings to people that I'm close with, people that I trust, people that care, people that thankfully had a different opinion about my views on life at the time. They helped me to be positive again. friends, to me personally, are equal to family, and even more. I am very open, and I connect very easily and very deeply with people that I find that I have chemistry with. You know, with certain people you just click, and I'm very blessed because the people that I have, who I consider friends and they consider me their friend, are very similar to me in all aspects, which I find a very beautiful thing. That truly helped me because I stopped feeling that I was alone, because I wasn't alone in this. When you know that you're struggling, but you know that there's someone out there who cares, or in my case several people who care, it helps. In my head, it helps. That was one thing. That was the first phase. Now through support of people that care, came the second step, making myself care about me, which is the most important thing of all. Because last year I went through a huge self-hate phase, and I kept seeing all these, the universe is a fun thing, isn't it? And during that phase I would see all these pictures saying, if you don't love yourself, how can you love someone else, or things like that. And I thought, oh, I don't want to swear in my video, so I won't say what I thought. Bottom line is, I realized when I was trying to get through this hellish state that I did not love myself enough. I did not care about myself enough. And my friends saw that too. And they kind of put me on an emotional schedule. They gave me advice about taking care of myself emotionally and physically, because I had really let myself go the previous years. And I have been stuck in a situation where I can't really get out much. So the only exercise that I had was occasional chores or hiking, which is not nearly enough for a person my size. So I started hiking more, and I started eating again, which again, it's very ironic that I went through that phase, and that kind of scares me, because, if you're someone out there who's listening and you know me, then you know how much I enjoy treats, and I never forget to have a meal. But for several months, I had real trouble remembering to even eat one meal a day. It's hard to even comprehend, that this actually happened, that I went through that, because it's so not me, I mean, normally you can just look at me and say cupcake and my eyes will go wide. But back then I was like, yeah, no, yeah. But I thought to myself back then, during the depressive state, since I have lost my appetite, it is a good chance to actually regulate my schedule and have small, healthy meals during the day. Since I'm not hungry anyway, I can actually regulate my menu and make sure that I'm getting anything that I need and nothing more, since I'm not hungry for sweets or anything like that. So I started having 2 meals a day, and I started eating on a better hour schedule, and I started hiking every day, walking my dog, which is a very happy activity for me because we my area is a forest, so it is a very beautiful place to hike. I have a video or two, I think, where I walk around my neighborhood. And you know, my dog is as outdoorsy as me, as outdoorsy as the normal me. So he's like a happy little child. Like, there was no way that I could deny the happy walks with him. And getting in touch with nature every day is always a positive thing. It helps your immune system. It helps you get some fresh air and exercise. Because either I like it or not, when I walk Oscar, I walk fast because he is not a patient puppy. He walks very fast and does not wait for me, and he pulls on the leash all the time. And I would walk every day, and that was one step. I even tried jogging a couple of times. So I started taking care of myself slowly and steadily. I still was in that state, but I started taking care of myself. And when you take care of yourself in your everyday life with small little things, like people would tell me, my friends would tell me, go look at yourself in the mirror and smile, and look at yourself and accept what you see. Accept you, not necessarily how you're looking on that particular day or anything like that. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't. I just couldn't do it. But I was trying. And it took me a while. Some people say that you need to accept yourself to change. Some people say that you need to just accept yourself and just be who you are. It's not the same for everyone. For me, I needed to accept all that I am. And that leads me to my next point. The next thing that helped me deal with this. Venting creatively. I'm not talking about venting like grabbing yourself, grabbing the phone sorry, grabbing the phone and calling someone and venting, or venting on Facebook, or you know, stuff like that. I mean creatively letting it out. Everybody has a hobby, or several hobbies in my case. The only reason I have many hobbies is that I get bored easily, and I can't, you know, it starts feeling like a chore if it's just one or two things. So I vented a lot, and that helped me see exactly what was going through in my head, what was going on in my head. I was writing a lot at the time, explaining my emotions to myself in a way, putting them in a form that was like images, and I was just trying to make metaphors of what I was feeling. And I saw that this was a huge help. because when you try to explain what you're going through to yourself, it sounds crazy, but it's a form of self-exploration. I don't know why I can't talk all of a sudden. It must be because I'm nervous. Please forgive me. It's not an easy thing talking about this with pretty much everybody. I was venting by writing. I was venting by taking pictures of, I don't know, flowers, tap of water, anything. I was venting by singing alone. I was venting by creating miniatures and sewing clothes for my dolls and collecting things randomly, or just watching movies, because when you watch a movie you kind of get lost in it and you relate yourself to the characters depending on what you decide to watch. So to me it's a form of venting. I might not be making any sense right now. So venting was another thing that helped. I probably sound insane, but I'll go with the flow. Another thing that really, truly, and deeply helped is distancing myself from everything that I possibly could that is negative for me and doesn't help. During the phase that I was feeling terrible, I had to rearrange my entire social circle, which means that I stopped talking to a bunch of people, and that out of nowhere a smaller bunch of people stopped talking to me. The first thing, me stopped talking to a bunch of people, happened in a long period of time. It was very subtle. It was very calm. There were no fights or anything. I just distanced myself from a number of people that were no longer supposed to interact with me. The second bunch of people that distanced themselves was the most difficult for me to handle. But I respect the choices of others. I respect their personalities. I respect their lives and their paths. So I did nothing about that. So while I was rearranging my entire life, and I was pretty much carving a new path, I realized that all the bridges that burned were a positive thing, because both sides were benefited. And sometimes they say that everyone comes in your life for a reason, even if they have to go. That's very true. That's very true. And even though not everything ends beautifully when it comes to any sort of interaction with others, it ends for a reason as well. It starts for a reason, it ends for a reason, and it's all for the better. And I'm not saying this to sugarcoat the fact that people walk away from each other. No, it's not a happy thing. It hurts. It hurts. And given that I was still in that state, I'm trying not to use the word depressed, because it's too heavy. I mean, I was depressed, but I don't know. There are people who are going through a lot worse than me, so I don't necessarily feel that I can say that, you know. But yes, in my path of life, that was the worst phase of my entire life so far. So what I'm trying to say is about the, losing people or pushing away people. It was good because I realized that some things were not helping me. Some people were not of any help to me as, how to put this? They were a negative influence. Some others were a very positive influence, but they still walked. Which is also a good thing, because it shows me who actually cared and who didn't. And that was a tough deal to handle. I went through a lot of crying, a lot of why did this happen, The word why was written in big red bold letters in my head every day about everything that was happening. It's like that phase of my life literally was like I was standing at the edge of a cliff. I had no control of my feet and they were leading me to the edge. And then a volcano erupted and I jumped in it. And everything just went boom. So I had to pick up what was left of me and start over. But I had help. I had a lot of help. And this is where things get positive. And, this has been a very weird, not happy audio so far. But when I started taking care of myself, when I realized that the people that I had distanced myself from was a good thing for me and for them, which allowed both parties to branch out and become better versions of themselves, both me and these people. When I started listening to my friends and focusing on myself again and all that, I actually started liking myself, because I spent many months hating myself, punishing myself. I paid for a lot of things that I had done wrong. I paid for a lot of things that I hadn't done wrong. And all this commotion and multitude of shit kind of started to dissolve, because I had started loving myself. I'm not saying that I'm actually there, that everything is okay, but I'm saying that when I actually started caring about me, beautiful things started to happen. And when I say beautiful things, I started being inspired again. I started smiling again without cringing. I stopped crying that much. I stopped having nightmares, which is a huge deal, because our dreams are just interpretations of our thoughts. They are reflections of what we're thinking, and what our subconscious is trying to tell us through every dream is a big deal. I always try to explain my dreams on a psychological basis. And when I stopped having nightmares, I really felt that I was going forward in my life, and that started happening around, 6 months ago, 7 months ago. that's when I started feeling a bit better. And I had many people that I really love help me and help me through this. And if it wasn't for friends, I would not be here today. I would be alive, of course, but I wouldn't be here today. And when I started rearranging my life fully, I made many new friends. Surprisingly, I made new acquaintances that became friends, that became family. I stayed in touch with my old friends, who are absolute treasure to me. And I would like to say a big hello to my friend Penny. I am going to show her this audio at some point. She was the first person to help me through this. She was there for me first. And she really helped. Apart from her, many friends of mine have been there for me. Many people have been there for me. I don't want to name any more names, but I started receiving a lot of love. I started feeling happy again in the beginning of this year. Like, after 2015 started, everything started looking up for me. And then I started my channel at the beginning of April. And slowly, gradually, through months and months of support and love and genuine interest from other people to see me become better, I got out of it. I stopped being sad all the time. I stopped crying all the time. I stopped beating myself emotionally all the time. It stopped. It just stopped. They say time heals everything. That's not true, but time helps. Time helps you get through it, because time allows your mind to process things. And I process things quite a bit. So, sorry about the car. I have my window open and I have 2 fans on me. So, through this weird audio, what I'd like you to keep is that, if you're going through problems, which you are, possibly, the best thing to do is reach into your mind first, locate what is troubling you. That's the first step. Then you need to pull a very big reality check. Put everything down and say, where am I right now in my life? Who have I become? What have I done wrong? What have others done wrong to me? Think about those things. Problems can be dealt with, can be solved, but some can't. for those that can't be solved, the only thing we can do is change the way we look at them. And this is kind of a cheesy thing to say, but it's true. It's not the way you look at them mostly, it's the way you deal with it. It's the way you treat these issues and situations. If you have problems in your workplace dealing with certain people that you work with, for example, this is just an example, the best thing to do is just change the way you approach those people, the way you treat them. Just saying. Or if you are having issues with yourself, with your image, the best thing to do is realize what really bothers you. Does the width of your shoulders really bother you? Or does the way you dress really bother you? Do you feel bad about a memory that you have that you can't get out of your head? Do you try to remember it all the time? I'm just saying random things right now because I don't want to list my own things. But I can list one. One of my biggest character flaws is how much I can care about someone or something. Yeah, many people will say this is a good thing. It can be, it mostly is, but if you're a dog, a puppy, and you're in a happy family that takes care of you, then being overly caring and happy is only a good thing. But if you're a human being, it's mostly possible that you'll get hurt by many, many people who don't really care in return. Which is a part of life. It's perfectly normal. But I'm just saying that this is one of the things that has got me into a lot of trouble in my life. And that's why I consider it a character flaw / good trait. But the problem really was that I couldn't really draw a line between people that really care for me and people who are just randomly there. And I'm not talking about now, I'm talking about earlier years of my life when my character was actually forming. And I have one more thing to say before I end this incredibly long audio. One of the things that I did when I was depressed and wanted to get out of it, I was doing the reality check thing. I was trying to realize, who have I become? What is the person that I call myself today, and how I got here? Because I did not like what I was feeling, what I was seeing. I did not like myself at the time. I was during the phase that I was still depressed, but I was trying to get out of it, and I had started taking care of myself, and I was trying to heal. And I wanted to see a different me, but when I say different, I don't mean a new version of me. I mean the default version of me. I'll explain what I mean. I did one of those flashback things. I sat down and took a good look at my entire life in my head. Started from my childhood and reached my current age. And in order for me to try and heal, I wanted to I wanted to connect to my childlike self. I wanted to remember who I was before the world changed me, or before I changed. I don't know if this makes any sense, but I'm just sharing right now. I needed to see all sides of me again, because I was stuck on one side of me, and that side of me was sad, depressed, lost. I wanted to locate the side of me that could always be happy, that could always be inspired, creative, and that side of me was my child self. When I was a child, until the age of, 7, 8, I was pretty happy. Mostly. I was very sociable, very open, very honest. I was very playful, imaginative. I was very silly. I would laugh a lot. I loved to sing. I loved, having a bunch of dolls. And I never grew up, really. That never left me. I still play with dolls. So I saw that. I realized that because I was browsing through pictures and stuff like that to try and bring back memories of that little child, that little version of me, because I wanted to become that person again in a grown-up fashion. And I did. I slowly did. Because some of these traits never left. The honesty never left, which has got me into a lot of trouble also. I was always an open book, and that was a problem. So what I'm trying to say is that another thing that got me through this was redefining myself. I ramble too much, I know, and I don't know if anyone listening actually makes sense of this, or if anyone is still listening, or whatever. But I redefined myself. It was like I just clicked a button back to default settings, because I had installed so much crap that I just crashed the system. Does that make any sense? I hope so. So I'll just finish this audio by saying, if I made any sense, I hope it helps. If it doesn't help, I'm very sorry. I was just sharing a part of me, because on my channel, you can see a lot of sides of me. You can see a very caring side, a very silly childish side, a creepy side, I don't know what else. So this was an attempt to show my serious side, but I'm not sure if I failed or not. I just wish that I made some sense, and that something that I said made some sort of a difference to even one person. So thank you for taking some time to listen to some of this audio, and if you're going through hell, you can get through it. It may take time, a lot of time, but you can get through it. Keep your friends close. Keep your family close if you get along with them. And be yourself. So, Thank you for listening. Have a beautiful evening.